Hello, hello, hello. Is anybody out there? We are live tonight. I just want to apologize to everybody. I had scheduled it for 6, but actually, this weekend has been crazy, and Bronx has been sick. And then my phone decided to take a poop. So, you know how that goes. Of course, at the most obnoxious time, it could stop working. It stops working. Happens to the best of us. How was everybody's weekend? Anybody go anywhere or do anything fun? Nobody? Oh no, yeah, Bronx, he'll be fine. He gets sick every now and again. It's been about 3 days. He's been throwing up and not feeling himself and just been lazy and icky for him. I couldn't even get him to go to the park earlier. Poor guy. He'll be okay. Denise says, I do nothing ever. You sound exactly like me. Literally, the only place I go is the grocery store or the dog park. That's it. And I hate going to the grocery store because there's people there. Hiya, Polka Dots. I have a question for you guys. Hi, Fizzy Cake. Thank you, Fizzy Cake. So, I'm sure you guys are familiar with Wade Wilson, right? The uh, guy in Florida who ran over one of his victims until he said she looked like spaghetti and then strangled the other one. Yeah, there is weird people at the grocery store. Anyway, so Wade Wilson, in case you guys didn't hear, he OD'd in jail. They recently moved him to a different jail, which is strange all in itself because he's supposed to be on death row and those people aren't supposed to be moved. But they moved him to a different prison that's a lot more lenient. And yeah, tattoo face man. Yep. They moved him to a prison that's a lot more lenient that doesn't even have a death row like inside that prison. So it's strange in itself. But apparently, I think it was yesterday or the day before, he almost died of an overdose. They had to resuscitate him and bring him back. My question for you guys is, yes, for real, this really happened. So my question for you guys is, do you think somebody that's on death row should even be resuscitated? Wade is a strange duck. Yes, he is. I don't know if you guys have listened to his phone calls with like Jesse and stuff. Oh my God. These people are horrible human beings. Hi, Susan. Yeah, I'm wondering if people on death row, if something happens, like let's say they even get beat up terribly and they need to be resuscitated or put on life support or, anything to bring them back to their original self. If they're on death row, should the resources even be used for them? Yes, in your opinion, yes. You think so, Fizzy-Cake. Susan says no. I'm not sure. It's something I just recently saw this headline on, I think it was Jumpsuit Pablo, that was telling us about the overdose of Wade Wilson. And it made me think, like, should people even be resuscitated in situations like that when they're on death row? I don't know. I think that's a really debatable question. So I have been trying to upload chapters 14 through 25 that I read, which took about an hour to record. And for some reason, it just will not let me upload it. I'm not sure why. But so with this book, this book has been driving me crazy. I know I saw some interviews with James Patterson and Vicky Ward, and the way they speak on this crime and what happened, it's almost like they don't even know what happened in this case. Like, they're so off base on so many things. So with this book, number one, it's not even written very well. Like, I think it's a poorly written book, number one. Number two, it's hard to decipher what actually happened and what they're just throwing in there. And I know a lot of people think that this book is complete fact, when in the beginning it says this book is fiction and fiction is not real. So it makes me question, like, when I'm reading it, what is real? What was actually said by Dylan to a friend or to somebody else? What, you know, was Hunter standing there with a knife in the kitchen when the police walked in, and then they took him into the patrol car, talked to him for a second, and then just let him go and didn't even collect the knife or anything? Like, I wonder stuff like that. Did that actually happen or not? Yeah, they just pulled pieces from the biased narrative. Oh, absolutely. I mean, the things that we know have been said by mainstream media are absolutely in this book. But there's a few things that have been driving me nuts. Like, did that actually happen or did it not? Was this actually said or was it not? I didn't know it said this book is fiction. I wouldn't believe any of it then. Exactly. Yeah, it says right in the beginning, it says, this book is fiction, but it reads like fact. And I don't even know what that means. Like, is it fiction or fact? I don't, because there is just a lot in this book that does not add up. It doesn't add up to the timeline. It changes what we've already known. It doesn't even go along with what mainstream media has said either. Yeah, that is super confusing. I don't know. This is a fictional book, but it reads like fact. So what? The death row thing, they legally have to provide or they can face criminal charges. Just FYI. Very, very good to know. Provide life-saving measures. Yeah, I figured that there was like a red tape something in there. I'm sure they have some sort of verbiage in their like handbook or something for officers or what to do in that situation. So that would make sense. It really would. So Kaylee being gagged, what do you guys think about that news? I'm very curious what you guys have to say. Um, did Wade take F? Yes, that's what was said, that, and he claims he was poisoned by somebody else, but yes, it was from F, apparently. Mandatory reporting. Yep, that does make sense. She said, what timeline? Which one? 2 a.m., 3, 4, 4 to 4:20? Ah, that makes me laugh, but it's not even funny. It's so bad. I don't believe what Steve G says. Excellent point. We know how many things he's lied about to convince the general public because mainstream media wasn't saying these things. And he was out there acting like he just freaking knew everything. Oh my gosh, they have such compelling evidence. And wait till you guys find out. Wait till you guys find out what we know and blah, 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 blah. And then here we are. And now he's doing interviews saying, we don't know anything. They didn't tell us anything at all. But Mabbitt is the one who told them that Kaylee's wounds were different and that she was gagged. It's hard to believe what he says. So, and I'm trying to think, like, was she gagged with something? Because it's hard for me to believe that a hand, especially a hand with a glove on it, and he did this. Like the hand was covering her mouth. A hand with a glove on it, I don't really think would do damage to her mouth. I feel like for there to be damage, it would have to be with like a something. He's not looking too good in those NY interviews. No. Exactly. Why would it be different if it was only one killer? Exactly. And why would Dylan say that she saw one guy going out the back? Well, we've got blood on the handrail on the first floor. So apparently to everybody, including Dylan, including mainstream media, it was somebody came in the back and left out the back and never even went downstairs. Then we've got unknown male DNA A, unknown male DNA C and D that they never figured out who it was. Well, that shows right there, right, that there's at least 2, if not 3 people that committed this crime. Somebody went out the front for sure. And only one weapon. Yeah. Yeah, Susan, how does Steve G know this? He says that Mabbitt, the coroner, told him this, that Kaylee had different wounds, that her nose was broken, that her face was unrecognizable, and that she had marks on the sides of her mouth, which she thought was from being gagged. I don't know if that means with a hand or 2 hands. I don't know if that means with an object. I struggle to think that somebody's hand with a glove on it over somebody else's mouth is going to cause damage to the sides of her mouth at all. I don't see that. I feel like it would have to be with an object, around her mouth. Her skull was damaged, KG said. Oh, Dago had suggested the sheath. Interesting. Very interesting. I'm trying to picture that. It's just hard for me to believe that one person could do all of this and then within the time frame that they're claiming that it happened. If they want to say that white car is the end all be all in this case, it has to coincide with the white car. All of this stuff couldn't have happened in that time frame by one person. I mean, it even says in the book that Brian Koberger sat there and watched through the window. I mean, they made it a point after point after point in the book that the window was open and anybody could just look in it as they drive by or sat there, like insinuating that all those times Brian Koberger supposedly drove by, which we know he didn't drive by the house, or it's possible that he didn't drive by the house at all. They want to insinuate in the book that he just sat out there and watched over and over, day after day after day. Dago also said in the very beginning, a broken golf club handle could create gouges. And they did take Ethan's golf clubs into evidence. Yes, I heard that as well. I'm not sure if it was True Crime Design or where I saw that, but somebody put up a video explaining how a golf club can do damage that might look like gouges or cuts. That with the amount of the force and the way it's shaped, it can create gouges. And they said 23 ping times. That just comes out to a once a week. Exactly. That's what I thought. They said 23 times in a little over 16 weeks. I'm like, that's not even twice a week. That's not, to me, that's not stalking at all. And it's 23 times, but it's not even 23 times that we know driving by their house. It's 23 times where he was further than a football field away. All of those 23 times. Dago actually said it before we knew they took Ethan's golf clubs. Oh, wow. Very interesting. Oh, Moscow is cheaper for shopping. Okay. Hey, that's good to know. When I used to live in Texas, I would drive to the next town to buy groceries because it was cheaper. And that's very possible for Brian Koberger to be doing that. I also think, like, He moved there, what, 6 months previous? I mean, who's not to say that he was just looking at his surrounding areas, like what there is to do. And, I don't know if any of you guys have suffered from insomnia, which they say Brian Koberger does. When I can't sleep, I like to drive around as well, just slow and aimlessly, because it makes me feel tired. I don't think that's really out of the realm to make it weird. Yeah, there are so many unanswered questions. So many. I'm just curious what you guys think of the gagging aspect of it, because I struggle to think that someone's hand would make marks on the side of their mouth. Not only that, but marks on the side of Kaylee's mouth, and you can see the marks on a face that has been beaten so bad it didn't even look like her. It looked unrecognizable. My dad used to take us driving around to get us tired for bed. Yep. My mom used to do that too, and then I still do that as an adult. Insomnia sucks. It's horrible. You would literally do almost anything to just get some really good deep sleep, and you can't. So you do things that either you like to do or it's going to make you tired. And driving, if he liked to look at the stars, he could do that, and then it could make him tired from driving as well. But then her face was unrecognizable. That's what they said. They said that she was beaten so bad that her face was unrecognizable. Her nose was broken. Her head was beaten in. We are in the house before 4. BK pulled up at 4. DDD saw him. He saw something happening and went in at 4:06. He is the one who said, "I'm here to help." He wanted to help, but it was too late. Oh, interesting. Interesting. Interesting way to look at it. I can't get over the part that Dylan says he looked like a fireman and was carrying an object that looked like a fireman would carry that object. And I'm so curious what that is. I was even trying to Google like vacuum looking objects that firemen carry. I couldn't find anything other than an axe or a hose. And then there was that fireball that lit up Boise's sky at 4:36. Must have passed over Moscow. Yeah, 8-hour delay it's just beyond me. Hey, I was gonna ask you guys too. I'm sure you guys remember Dot, the neighbor who said they saw Dylan and Bethany out back with a female and a black male at about 8 in the morning smoking a blunt, passing a joint back and forth. Did anybody come to a conclusion whether that was true or not? I don't think I ever really heard a definitive if that was true or if we don't know who that person is. Emma and Demetrius. Yep. That's what Dot said. Well, Dot said he didn't say their names. He said Emma. He knew it was Emma, and then a black male. You think they came out saying they lied? I was curious because I heard the Dot stuff, but I thought back and I was like, I don't even know if that ended up being true or not. Interesting. All lies. Okay, good to know. Hey, Donna, good to know. I feel like it was, but she came back and said it wasn't. I think she was threatened. Interesting. Very, very interesting. Okay, my other question for you guys is, do you guys think something crazy is going to happen at sentencing? Becca Barlow was talking to the judge. I'm sure you guys all saw it. And she was saying how we would like to keep the gag order because, as we know, things can happen during sentencing. And I feel like you wouldn't say that unless you knew something was coming. Yeah, I have a feeling something is coming. I do too. And I don't know what it's going to be. And the fact that they set aside 8 hours the entire day for victim impact statements and the whole sentencing thing, I feel like something is going to happen. I have no idea what. I don't know if it's going to be Brian Koberger rescinding that he said he did this. I don't know if, it might be some sort of fight or anything. I have no idea. Yes, I do want to hear your theory, Fizzy Cake. Yeah, and the next day as well. Hey, Ren, how are you? I hope you're having a good weekend. I do think something's going to happen. I really do. And I don't know exactly what it is, but I feel like something is going to happen. Brian's going to be like, nope, I'm innocent. I withdraw my plea. I think that's so possible. And if he does that, did you guys know it cannot be used against him when he does go to trial? They cannot say, oh, well, just 2 weeks ago you were about to plead guilty and then you stepped away from it. They can't do that. They cannot bring it up. It's like it never happened. Yeah, the way Anne smiled at him. I know. Oh my gosh. I feel like something is going to happen. I feel like Becca Barlow wouldn't have said that unless she knew something was going to happen. I, at this point, would be surprised if nothing happened at sentencing. They got denied for all perps. Becca pulled strings to get the blood tested. Results would come back around sentencing. Interesting. He has 30 days to withdraw. Yes. That's interesting that if they did test the blood, it would be coming back around sentencing time. And who is the blood lawyer? Becca. This case is full of surprises. It's like it is, but it's not. You know what I mean? Like, it's not surprises that make Koberger look more guilty at all. In fact, it makes the prosecution look like they don't know what they're doing or that they don't have enough. They don't have enough. That's why I'm so surprised at the plea deal. Something obviously happened. Yep, it never ever ends. I don't know. I just feel like something is going to happen at sentencing. I'm more surprised that the prosecution got up there and said, the case is compelling. We have all this evidence. And then really the only thing they have is less than a secondary transfer amount of Brian Koberger's DNA on the button snap, on the inside of the button snap. What? Who was the first suspect that they just dropped after getting Brian's name? I know this answer, and I can't even think of it right now. I don't remember. I cannot think of who it was. I remember looking that up too. I'm saying that the bloody Cole. Is that who it was? Cole? Yes. Cole Brandenburg. Okay. And he was the guy that was by the dumpster, right? I'm saying bloody glove found belongs to the hand that covered Kay's face. She bit down as hard as she could, and the killer started beating her head to get her to stop. Does the glove have a bite mark? Very interesting. That's what I would think too, that she would bite. I mean, I would if it happened to me. Also, the sorority being pranked by the girls has some weight. They went and brought boyfriends with them as well. Yeah. And that the coyote thing, do you guys remember the coyote thing? Where somebody was putting deceased but mangled coyotes on their doorstep of the sororities, of Kaylee's sorority, and putting streaks of blood down the window from it and everything. I think so too. Especially if there's something over your mouth, like somebody's hand, and you bite it to make them be in pain to release. That would make sense. That could be. Oh, did you guys think that Brian Koberger looked beat up at the non-dissemination order hearing? I thought he looked strange. I thought it looked that won't happen with a puppy, a doodle puppy. So Fizzy Cake says, I still can't get over Murphy in the room with the door open. And I find that interesting too, because some people's theory is that the perpetrators got Kaylee up out of her room to go into Maddie's room to have them in the same space to do what they ultimately did to them, which kind of would make sense only because they said that they were in Kaylee's room, all of the girls talking at 2:00, talking about going back out. It would not make sense for Kaylee to get up and leave her room and go with Maddie into her room to sleep. It would make sense for Kaylee to just stay in her room and go to sleep, and Maddie go to sleep in her own room. But then have Kaylee directed to go into Maddie's room, or dragged or carried or whatever, and go into Maddie's room so they can be together and keep them in the same, secluded in the same space to do whatever they wanted to do. Maybe Murphy was in a kennel. Possibly. I do think it's weird that after the fact, a dog would smell blood, in my opinion. I would think that Murphy would at least go into Maddie's room to see what happened or whatever, because they can smell the blood. That's what I would think. Yeah, Kennel was in the Range Rover. Yeah, Kaylee's mom said that, right? In my opinion, girls were involved in the unalivings, and that's why Murphy is being spared. Very possible. It's just the timings are weird. And because we can't get the timings to add up, really, that's the only part that makes me think that they were unalived at completely different times. That maybe Ethan and Xana were unalived after they got there, and Maddie and Kaylee were way before, and they just waited for the other people. But then again, that would have to be like a hit of some sort, which is also very possible. If you watch Pav's channel, he gets deep into that, and it makes sense. And I was reading somewhere or watching somewhere where some of these things are like sending a message. Like for instance, the constant noise complaints I thought were odd, especially because the one where the guy took the picture of Kaylee's ID, we didn't hear any noise on that. So all of these noise complaints are a message like, we hear you, we see you, we're watching you. Like you can't even have loud music where that's how much we're watching you. So be careful. And then, depending, that's why I'm so curious about like the autopsy and stuff, because depending on where the wounds are could also be sending a message. Wounds on someone's mouth could be, you talk too much. You said too much. But then again, Dylan also said Maddie and Kaylee were sitting on the couch. So which is it? If either one. That's what makes me so upset with the book, is because it contradicts other things that we already knew. For instance, Dylan saying they were sitting on the couch talking, but before they said they were in Kaylee's room talking. So if they were in Kaylee's room, how did Kaylee get to Maddie's room when she has a perfectly larger bed in her own room and Murphy's in there? Why would she go to Maddie's room? And why would Dylan then say that they were on the couch? And it sounds like, from what they said, it sounds like Dylan is more or less eavesdropping. She can hear what they're saying, but she's not joining in the conversation. It's possible that Ethan and Xana were at Linda Lane. Lots of sad audio there. And Kaylee and Maddie at the house. That's what makes me question the timeline of when the actual crimes happened, and that it could be more spread out and not all at once. Exactly. That's what I wonder too. Who is calling in all these noise complaints? Where are they coming from? Because from the way I see it, where the house was located, yes, it's off campus, but everyone that lives around in that vicinity, real close, all those apartment buildings and even the houses right there, they're all like college people. It's the middle of a college town. Those are going to be college people. So if you don't like music in the middle of the day, you wouldn't live in that area. Anybody who moves in that area knows it's a college area. It's going to be loud. People are going to be playing music and having parties and being out all night. So that's why I question the noise complaints as well. And who was on the floor? Xana or Ethan? Was the door open or closed? Right, because the book says the door was like almost shut, like just barely cracked open. But that's not what we hear from other sources, like Hunter Johnson. And if Hunter Johnson went in and took their pulse, wouldn't he have blood on his hand? And that's never stated either. If he went in there, he should have not only had blood on his hand, but tracked blood back through the house as he left. Up on the hill, Matt M. jealous that he couldn't get Kaylee's attention. Hi, Carol Ann. Thank you for joining from South Africa. And why did he do it twice? Absolutely. And then where the heck did he put the knife? In the book, they literally say that Hunter Johnson had a knife in the kitchen. They took him out to the patrol car. They talked to him for a couple minutes and just let him go. That's not good enough for me. Yeah. The book it makes me mad. It makes me mad because, number one, the writing isn't the greatest. And number two, there's so many things written in this book that contradict what we were already told. And people are taking it as fact. And in the beginning, it says this book reads as fact, but it's fiction. I don't understand that sentence. Right. Did he think they were going to wake up? Yeah, he went in, he saw, came out and told them to call 911. Oh, another question I have for you guys is, do you guys have any thoughts of what order the victims were in? Like, just put the order of their initials in the chat, that the way you think they were unalived. Because the reason I ask that is because I do also think it is strange that Dylan and Bethany got those tattoos on the backs of their arms, and the variations of the letters that they put are the exact variations that are in the court documents that Brian Koberger signed guilty to, which is MKXE. And that is I think most people think Maddie was first. But where I heard this was they said that it was MKXE, and there's 24 different variations of transposing these letters. So the fact that Dylan and Bethany have it in the exact same order that the court documents have it in is a little strange. And the fact they got it so fast afterwards. It was only like 10 days and they went out and got these tattoos. Two different episodes. Ethan and then Xana, Maddie and then Kaylee. I would think that Ethan would be one of the first, because you would want the guy who is really big and tall and able to protect everybody else. You would want him taken away first. Not saying that Ethan was the very first, but I feel like he would have been one of the first ones if it was a one person doing this, a lone killer. It sounds like MKXE, but this comes from BT, Bill Thompson, the liar. Yeah, I agree. Excuse me. They talk about two other deaths in Moscow, the Hudson Lindau and Joseph Wiedrich. I just feel like they said those were both accidental, along with Caden with the overdose. You know, everything is accidental. I feel like for a smaller town, it's not super small, but it's not super big either. I feel like this is a lot of stuff that to happen in this small town. I know it's a college town, and I'm sure they get a lot of, drinking issues and stuff like that. But I feel like what has happened in the town over the past 10 years that we know of, it's a lot. They have a lot of, Hannah Cleary. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that has gone on in Moscow for it to be such a small town. Two people attacked MT and two people attacked XE. Possible. Frat related. That's That's what I think. I do think it was frat related. I I used to think that maybe, just maybe, the other frats, told all the people that all their friends and stuff, or the people that hung around them, we're going to play this joke on Ethan and Xana. And they came in, and Bethany and Dylan thought it was just this prank or joke, and it ended up being an unaliving. And that's why they're not saying anything. That's why Dylan and Bethany aren't saying anything, because they know who it was and they don't want to get them in trouble, because then they'll be next. Hi, Kylie. Landon was Ethan's good friend, and that happened at Rush Week, and Ethan knew it was frat related. Yep. But kind of think it was X first, due to her being up and seeing him as he entered. She runs back to her room, then Ethan, then Maddie. Yeah. I mean, they say in the was it the Prime? Was it the Prime one that they say that there was blood of Xana's on the stairway? But I'm like, if there was blood of Xana's, then there would, and she dripped blood or sprayed blood from an injury on the stairs, it would track all through the house as she was running to her room. So how did the other two not see that? Bethany knew that Ethan was in a fight that night, so why would she say it was a joke that got out of hand? I don't know. Yeah, I used to think that it was like maybe a prank gone wrong, but I just feel like it has to be way more than one person. I think 3 people did it. I think there was 3 people there. I don't know who those people are, but I think there was 3 people there. And I don't think Brian Koberger was back on drugs. I think they want us to think that it was just this lone intruder and they caught him to make the town feel safe. But I think it's bigger than that, and I think they know that. I think it had something to do with rugs and talking, and I don't really believe the Maddie flushed a bunch of it. I don't really believe that. I think it would more so have to do with the victim's parents and their involvement in the rug world. I believe Pete from the police body cam was definitely involved. He clearly had been in a fight. He had a big knot on his forehead. The cops didn't ask what happened to him. Is that, yeah, at the Banfield? Is that what you're talking about? I did see that. No, don't they drug test you if you're arrested like that, or am I way off? Are you asking when you're arrested, do you get drug tested? I don't think so. Perps are residents. They know and needed it to be an out-of-state perp. Yep. Definitely think it's rug related. I never thought that. I never ever thought that. But now, like watching Pav stuff and stuff like that, I'm like, That's super possible. That really is, because to me, in my eyes, it's literally anything except a lone intruder that doesn't know the house, has never Googled them, has never seen them, has never. I mean, why would you pull up and park and do that kind of crime after A, you just saw a door dasher, so you know somebody's up, and B, you picked a house that's literally surrounded by other apartments? If you were going to do this, don't you think you would pick a house like out in the country or something where you had more time to get away or less noises or whatever? Because according to them, Brian Koberger, this would have been his first unaliving. I don't think these are the houses or the people that you would pick for your first unaliving. I just don't see that. When they say that it was targeted, I truly believe it was targeted to those people. It was meant for those people. My mom used to think it was a hit due to no blood outside and no one called or anything. She used to say it seemed too clean. I do feel that it was too clean. It was too clean everywhere. Inside the house, outside the house. I mean, they have what, 3 different basically specimens of unknown male DNA? 3? There should have been hundreds. Think of how many men were in and out of that house. There should have been fingerprints galore on everything. I thought 1122 was being used by drug dealers to get mail deliveries. Roommates decided to open something suspicious and was a F ton of drugs, and they tossed it. Owners of the package would kill. I don't know. People do that. People definitely send drugs through the mail. They do that. It actually happened to one of my friends. She pulled up to our house one day and there was a package outside. She just left it there because she's like, I didn't order anything. And then about an hour later, police, I think DEA, everybody showed up to her house, and it was a whole box full of weed. I think that's what it was weed. But people do that. Good point, Kylie. Very, very good point. I don't know why the state said he left a different way back to Pullman to avoid cameras, but went to King Road and got caught on all the cameras on the way there. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't. There was a party that Friday night. There should have been a whole lot of DNA. There should have been hundreds of not only DNA, but fingerprint. It should have been everywhere. So for them to have, what, 3? Bullcrap. It is, Bianca. You are so right. This is the biggest mess of a case ever. Like, I hope everybody understands that this is like making history right now. Like, we're living it. This case will be talked about forever. Yeah, it's funny you say that because we were talking about that earlier. And I had asked, was the whole dot thing real, or I didn't never know what ended up happening with that. Some people said it was lies, and some people said it could make sense, but nobody really knew. Most of the people thought that it was lies, though. But that would be interesting if it actually was true. Hello, Sandra. It would be crazy if that was true, though, because to me, that would definitely prove it was a rug related hit, if that's true. It still blows my mind. They only got 113 pieces of evidence that they collected. Should have been a lot. It should have been a lot more than that. Here's what I think. Okay, let's say there's a husband and wife. They get in a big fight, and the husband unalives the wife on the kitchen table. He to death, right, with a sharp force object. They would take that kitchen table into evidence because that is what she passed on. And they would need pictures of it and all sorts of stuff. They never took anybody's mattress. They just threw them out. They never took the things that these people were unalived on into evidence. These people passed on the mattresses and they never took it into evidence. And at that time, they didn't have a clue who did this, unless maybe they did. But as far as we know, in that moment, they didn't have a clue who did this. Why would you not take the object that the unalivings happened on? Anything could have been on there. A hair, drops of sweat, spit, anything. Especially because they knew that there was a fight. They should have taken all the cups on the tables, everything. And then if you look at the crime scene forensics people that are in there, they're not only walking in and out of the house with the same booties on, they don't have masks on, they don't have their hair in a hairnet. They're just coughing and sneezing and talking and spitting and walking in and out of the house. They're just trampling the crap everywhere. When I saw that, it made me think like, okay, is this real, or are they just doing stuff to appease the general public to make them think it was real? It's like this case could go any freaking direction. Except, to me, not a lone unaliver. It's too much for one person in that short of a time. So that's a very good question, Pumpkin. So if we think BK is a patsy, do you think he was chosen before the crime or after? I think before, because of that time that he was pulled over. Yeah, before. And to that I say it was before, when he got pulled over, because they got all of his information right there. They got his phone number, they got his DNA. He took a pen and a piece of paper and he signed his name on it. Could make sense. Beth Hernandez says, I believe it is a psyop. It very, very well could be. And the reason I personally think that could be a possibility is because of the blood droplets that came from inside the house to outside the house. I think like that's just not possible. So you're trying to tell me if somebody mopped the floor with a bunch of water, it would leak outside in Xana's room? No way. It's just them giving us a visual, since we never saw a body come out of the house. They didn't even put blinders up to remove the bodies or anything. The way we will know for sure is if a new law is passed. And I think that is absolutely going to happen. There are going to be new laws in place because of this, or laws are going to be altered because of this. Something is going to happen in the future that's related to this case. Someone got Brian Koberger's knife from his car seat, possibly. Maybe he isn't exactly sure when it was stolen, if that is the case. And here's the thing. Brian Koberger has never gotten a chance to speak for himself or to defend himself. He would have been able to in a trial, but that isn't going to happen. So at what point is Brian Koberger going to tell his side or going to give us proof that it was him? Do you guys think that's going to happen at sentencing? I think Brian Koberger is not going to say anything at sentencing. And I think if he does say something, it's going to be the fact that he takes his plea back and doesn't want to plea anymore. But other than that, I don't think we're going to get any details from Brian Koberger at the sentencing. That broken pipe theory makes way more sense. It does. It does. Instead of that being blood. My grandpa used to say, every time a pretty girl is unalived, a new law is passed. It does happen. It does happen. And how did she hear him say that through a door, through a mask? We all know around that time, everyone was saying, oh, I can't hear through a mask. If somebody just spoke in a regular cadence, like I'm speaking right now, like, hey, I'm here to help. If somebody was in my back room, especially if I had a mask on and the door was shut, I would never be able to hear them. They would never be able to hear me. If he changes his plea, do they seal the documents back up? I don't know. I want to say yes, but I don't know 1,000% if they do. Excuse me. But I think possibly that could be the reason why BICA was asking for them not to unseal things and not to lift the gag order. Because now if Brian Koberger decides to take his plea back and not say he's guilty, now look, they've lifted the gag order. So that could taint a jury all within itself. They haven't done anything with the leaks. I think they would have to resubmit a motion to reseal. That could be very possible. It just wouldn't make sense to do it, to leave them unsealed now if he takes his plea back. You can see the wall on body cam footage, and those streaks on the wall are not there. Huh. Interesting. Like Cy-Ray ATM can't talk because his stuff is still sealed. I mean, Cy-Ray trains law enforcement on how to do the phone stuff and the all the phone data and tracking people. He's the one who trains law enforcement. And he's the one who's coming up saying, no, that his phone didn't do that. That's not what happened. And then he's called by the judge a conspiracy theorist. That is overstepping his boundaries so bad, the judge, by saying that. You cannot call an expert witness prior to a hearing or prior to a trial a conspiracy theorist. I mean, it tells you right there what side the freaking judge was on. Hippler isn't going to unseal anything until after the sentencing hearing, in my opinion, and then most will be redacted. Yeah, I think that too. I think that's why he said it was going to take a couple weeks. Like, don't expect it right now. Don't expect it tomorrow. I can't wait to see Cy-Ray come back into the picture. He's got to be pissed. His affidavit sounded like he was then. Yeah. I would love to hear what he has to say. I wish he would do an interview and just explain everything, or just put out a video. I really thought when when the gag was lifted and Steve G came out, I really thought he was going to say more than he did. I thought he was going to have like a whole bunch of information that we didn't know. Is it true that none of the parents identified the bodies? Is that true? I'm curious if it's true that none of the parents got to identify the bodies. Because it sounds like all the information regarding the bodies that Steve G has wasn't because he saw it. It was because Mabbitt told him that. I'm hoping he's been talking to a few of his good FBI friends about the corruption going on there. There's so much corruption there because there is way too much going on in that town that is not okay. People passing away, people drowning, people getting murdered, and they just want it to stay so hush hush. Nobody wants anything to do with it. Nobody wants to talk about it. And then Bill Thompson takes a plea deal because I'm pretty sure that's the only way he would get a win. I don't think in trial he would ever get a win. Is really, hey Claire Bear. Hitler is a medical malpractice judge, not a death penalty judge. He's out of his depth. I did not know that. I just don't think that one lone person who has never been in that area, never been by that house, and never looked up any of those people would enter a house and do that. Hi, Debbie Ann. Yeah, they do have the autopsy. Hey, Debbie, I was curious. Do you know if the families got to identify the bodies or got to see the bodies? Because I heard that nobody got to see them. Nobody got to identify the bodies. He absolutely got the autopsy report. I want to see the autopsy report. I think that would tell us so much more information. Maybe BK gave Brent Kopacka a lift there. I mean, they live right next to each other. Exactly, Fizzy. And the thing is they can say all they want about a click history, but they haven't ever told us if the K-bar sheath that was found is the same one that Brian Koberger bought. They have never connected that. They have never said, yes, the sheath that Brian Koberger bought on Amazon had the USMC logo on it. It was the same knife sheath. Yes, that belonged to him. They have never, ever said that. They had every chance to say that, but they have never, ever said that. And it's the things they don't say that are much louder to me than the things that they do say. When they leave something out, it's on purpose. It's so they don't have to say it or be held and be accountable for what they say. For somebody that wanted to be an Army Ranger, it makes me think it was an Army K-bar. Yeah. More grounds for appeal. Yep. I think that he is going to appeal. He's going to take it to the Supreme Court. Exactly. What kind of knife was recovered from Pennsylvania? Was it a butter knife, a switchblade, a butter? Yeah, like they didn't tell us. Just a bunch of knives. It's like a big brother riddle in this case. Just tell us the stinking truth. Yeah. It's literally listed knife. And a knife was recovered from the house. Which house? The crime scene house or Brian Koberger's house? Everything else has descriptions, and the knife just says knife. Did they ever come out and say that the hair found was not Murphy's? Did any of them ever say that from the prosecution or anywhere over on that side? They never came out and said that. I think it wasn't a link. It wasn't Murphy's. But they're not going to say that. Because here's my thing, though. If it was Murphy's and it didn't match, how many times would we hear about it? Over and over and over and over. That's why I say the things that aren't said ring way louder than the things that are said. The autopsy was supposed to reveal the size of the knife. Yep. And I think it should reveal the order in which they were unalived. Who was first, who was second, who was last. Oh, it's hard to determine if it came from specific animals. I think they would be able to tell, like, oh, this was a dog hair rather than a zebra hair. But as far as narrowing it down to being Murphy's exactly, I don't think they could definitively narrow that down. The most they could say would be like it looked like the same color and shape as Murphy's hair. I think that's about as far as they could do to determine if it was animal hair and who it belonged to. Oops, heck. Don Daniels held on to the things she pulled from his apartment for 10 days before handing it over to Idaho. Unbelievable, right? Anything could have happened to that. You must identify your loved one's body, so they would have to. Plus, Ethan's parents had a second private autopsy. I've just never heard any of the parents say anything about what their child looked like when they identified them. What are you guys laughing at? One thing people don't get is for people with autism, a few months in a new place is not enough time to make friends. Very good point. Very good point. I also think it's not enough time, even for your regular, degular, everyday human being, to get a good 6 months is not enough time to get a good feeling of your surroundings, to know where things are at, to know where this friend lives, or my teacher lives over here, or I like this coffee and that's over there. I want to go shopping over here. It takes a while to learn that. And somebody might do it late at night, number one, because they have insomnia, which they said he has. And number two, there's no traffic, or there's less traffic. The first 6 months is overwhelming enough just to do work and school, so his life would not have veered much from that. I don't think 6 months is enough to know your surroundings when you're new, when you just moved literally across the country. Right? He's going to learn the length of his cell pretty soon, because that's all he's going to be seeing unless he steps forward and stands up for himself. Unless he did do it. I always say, I wasn't there. Until I see it, I don't know. But I can just say what it looks like from the evidence they don't have. I do think that Brian Koberger is valuable in jail. Very, very valuable. Oh, and what do you guys think of Steve G insinuating that Brian Koberger can be beneficial to law enforcement? Oh, polka dots. I'm so glad that he is cancer free. He constantly drove all hours, day and night, going nowhere, but just drove and drove. I used to do that when I was younger. I can't remember what his hair looked like in Zoom meeting. Are you talking the Zoom meeting? Are you talking about the one that they just had for the dissemination order? I think it didn't really look like him. His cheeks looked rounder right here, and one side looked bigger than the other side. I couldn't necessarily see that he had a black eye or anything. I know another channel thought he did. I didn't necessarily see that, but to me, he looked different than he did at the last hearing just 2 weeks ago. Did it match the plea hearing? To me, it looked straighter. Yeah, BK does look different every time. Even in his pictures from a long time ago, I'm like, that's not him. Oh, yeah, it is. I wonder how his nose got broken. Does anybody know how his nose got broken? He does look different every single time. Every single picture looks different. Nailed in the face? By what? I heard he got nailed in the face. Oh, punched. Do you mean by one of the victims? Every time he looks different. He sure did. Some of those pictures of him are AI. I wouldn't doubt that. His tan had faded. So for that Zoom meeting they just had for the non-dissemination order, it would be very, very simple for those of you who think this is a psyop or a WITSEC thing or anything along those lines. How they showed Brian Koberger, how Brian Koberger showed up on this last Zoom meeting, is very easy to obtain that look. It's a maroon t-shirt, a white undershirt, and you're in a room with just yellow walls. And it's facing like upward, so you can't even see parts of the room. I mean, it could have been a jail cell. It could have been an office. It could have been his bedroom. It could have been anywhere. His upper lip looked swollen. Yeah, it was really blurry. It was, Ren. You're right. I just noticed that one side of his face looked a little bit puffier than the other side. That's all I could really tell. Just a distraction. Yeah. State said they won't be talking on the defense. Didn't want it lifted. So what did it actually do but hush the media? Yep, it didn't do anything. I'm still waiting. I cannot wait till Wednesday morning. We will do the sentencing hearing live on this channel. I promise I won't talk through it and annoy you guys. Just let everybody listen. That's on Wednesday morning. I'm so curious if something's going to happen like Becca insinuated it might happen. Good point, Bianca. Very, very good point. I thought the exact same thing. I'm like, with what we have nowadays, they could have put him on a cell phone and it would have not been blurry. Why was that so blurry? It's like they're hiding something. Like it wasn't him. That was very strange, I thought. With what we have these days, my goodness, things should not be that pixelated and that blurry. Yeah. I will definitely be on the sentencing, streaming it live. It must have been a Samsung. That's so funny. And why was the picture they released on a cell phone picture? Good point. I have no idea what anybody's going to do about the leaks. It sounds like to me nobody's looking into it. The mint green walls behind him, I thought they were yellow. I mean, I can tell you that was not in his jail cell, just right off the rip. I can tell you that because jail cells, the walls are so old. You can see like where holes have been patched up, or they'll have a big crack in it, or, like you can tell they're really popcorny. You can tell that it's a jail cell or not. And that was not a jail cell wall. All right, you guys, we've been on for almost an hour and a half. I just wanted to chit chat with you guys because my phone is not working very well. So just a reminder, I will be streaming the sentencing live on Wednesday. So if you want to chat, I won't talk through it, but we can chat in the chat. Other than that, I'm going to go ahead and leave. I think we can catch some of Birdie's live. He should be starting soon or already started. So I'll let you guys go chit chat over there if you want, or whoever else is live. Probably Once Upon a Crime Time is live, I would assume. I like Tommy. So I'm going to hop off, take Bronxy out to potty, and then I'll see you guys in someone else's chat probably, I'm sure. Thank you so much, Polka Dots. Bronx will be just fine. He was being silly earlier today, but other than that, he has been sick the last couple of days. So thank you for joining over here, you guys. I really appreciate it. I hope everybody has a fantastic Sunday evening. And if you guys have to get up early for work tomorrow, I apologize, but I do too. So don't feel so bad. Bye, guys. Thank you so much.